Episode 13 of Grosse Pointe Garden Society begins this finale with Patty speaking to Marilyn and demanding the quilt back. Patty has something she's been blackmailing her with, and later on in the episode, we find out exactly what that is. For now, Marilyn calls on Alice to help find it. She's got Dana with her, and they're cross-referencing all the guests at the Garden Society, alongside Dana's apparent psychic ability of figuring out lies, which could undo everything. It doesn't, though, thankfully. We do get confirmation here that Marilyn killed Alice's dog, though, given Alice finds an old blankie in the cupboard, the exact one belonging to her dog. We'll circle back to this shortly. What does Melissa do? Melissa shows up to see Brett over at Alice's place, where things take an awkward turn fast. She's got papers and is trying to file for full custody of the kids. Next, Melissa files for divorce from Connor, believing they're very different people now compared to when they first got together. Connor eventually ends up berating Brett at the bar as they both discuss how Melissa has treated them both. Naturally, Mel always chased the wrong things and eventually messed them both over. However, Connor is quick to point out that the thing Mel has been chasing the most is Brett. What's Catherine's big idea? While this is happening, Joel continues to sow the seeds of Keith's journey at the station, intending to help Birdie cover everything up. However, there's still the matter of Catherine's bracelet to contend with. The eyewitnesses over at the gas station can't just be ignored, especially the references to a red dress that Birdie was wearing. One of the officers at the station is starting to get suspicious, until Joel warns him off from this line of inquiry. Catherine, though, is still wrestling what she and the others have done with Keith, and it's eating her up inside. Tucker tries to calm her down and reassures his wife that she just needs to go about her day like normal. Catherine then has the bright idea of recycling Keith's body and turning him into compost. What happens with the PI? That night, the group start digging in the ground to pick out Keith's body. However, all they find is a shoe, and the actual body is gone. That's because it's with Connor's former PI. The goon confronts them and blackmails the four for money. In the morning, the group meet with Connor's PIs at the society, but they try to pull a fast one and scam him. It doesn't work, though, but he suddenly topples over, holding his heart as he has a heart attack. The four decide to take the man to the hospital rather than burying him. How did Alice's dog die? Alice eventually confronts Marilyn about the blanket, and she reveals why it was in her possession. 7 months earlier, her cat never showed for dinner, as it was having a fight with a dog outside. Marilyn, in her blind panic, shot her handgun blindly into the garden and wound up killing Alice's dog. The only person she could think of to call was Patty, and through the power of manipulation, the pair covered it all up. This has been eating Marilyn up for months, and she apologizes profusely to her. Alice forgives her and explains that she's no better than she is. She doesn't tell her about Keith, but does utter that the quilt is just gone. What happens to Alice? Alice rings Brett at the courthouse and explains that she thinks there could be something more between them. However, she's at the police station when she says this, deciding to give her statement to the officers. However, Joel gets involved and seemingly stops her from speaking the truth. This is the last we see of Alice this season, though, so it's presumed that she either confessed to her part in this and is behind bars, or she's been free to go and is keeping herself separate from the others. Does Brett get justice? Brett doesn't receive Alice's voicemail until later on, though, as he shows up at the courthouse as requested. He speaks to Mel beforehand, telling her she should probably file for parental rights for the right reason, not weaponizing their children against him. All of this feeds into what Connor said earlier, given it seems she's punishing him for not getting back with her. Brett's words work, though, and he convinces her to relinquish her grip on the kids. How does Season 1 end? Doug returns from his trip and speaks to Patty. It suddenly strikes her that Keith isn't up at the cabin, and it rings alarm bells. However, there's also the gas station clerk who recognizes Catherine while she's at a bus stop, and Connor's PI goon who wakes up in hospital. All of these loose threads are left unresolved for now. Through all of this, Birdie, Catherine, and Brett decide to compost the body. Then we cut forward to next season and see the trio holding someone captive, wearing a bird costume.